PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
She just goes a little mad sometimes.
Do you ever feel like you're normal and the rest of the world has lost its collective mind?
Put your helmet on. We'll be reaching speeds of 3.
Do you find people saying this to you a lot?
Are you totally deranged?
Are you looking for a looking glass to pass through?
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Or looking for a rabbit hole to fall down?
Who could think of a better punishment, really? Everything's the same here, it's just a little worse.
Guess what?
Life's a bitch. Now so am I.
You found it. Welcome to Platinum Rose's Garden.
Well, hello, my darlings. Welcome to Platinum Rose's Garden. This is Platinum Rose Lady on November 19th, 2017. Yes, I know. I'm sorry. This season's been a little bit, it's been a little bit wonky over here. I'm really sorry about that. I've had a couple of, illness issues and other things pop up that have prevented me from recording my show on time and getting it up in a more timely manner. For that, mea culpa, which of course is Latin for I am a dumbass. I do apologize. So, I hope everybody had a terrific week. Other than feeling kind of bleh a couple of times, my week was pretty okay, the last couple of weeks. I do want to say one thing that, this is just on a personal note. If you ever have a chance to visit Massachusetts, which I hope you do, because Massachusetts is a great place to visit. And I'm saying that completely unbiased as I live here. But it's a fun place to come to visit. We've got lots of, historical things if you're a historical person and lots of other fun stuff if you're not. We've got great places to eat and shop and all kinds of fun things. But one of the funnest places ever to go in Massachusetts is Salem. Salem, Massachusetts is one of my favoriteest places probably on planet Earth. It's just a fun place. It's got a wonderful vibe. It's got great shops, amazing places to get food, whatever you're in the mood for. If you just want to grab a quick bite or if you want to sit down and have a, real laid out in front of you savory meal or just something on the go. There's tons of places to get candy and all kinds of sweets and delicious things. And the vibe in Salem is just so amazing and beautiful and wonderful. And the people there are so nice and friendly. A lot of the stores in Salem, have new age, trappings to them and things like that, or magic or flat out witchcraft, which is, the irony of it is not lost on me. I just find it hilarious that one of the places that was one of the most dark points in America's history is also now a place that completely embraces Wiccan and witchcraft and alternative religions and things like that, which is cool, and great. I love Salem. I really do. There's so many wonderful places to go. And if you ever come to Massachusetts, definitely take a stop by Salem. You will find it as charming as I do. Although I don't know if Sam and Dean would like it very much, to be perfectly honest with you, because, the whole witchcraft thing. And we've already established that Dean has a problem with witches. Anyway, moving on. Obviously, the big thing coming up this week is Thanksgiving. Big American holiday, where everybody, you gather around your family or your friends or whomever is with you in your life that's important to you, because you shouldn't spend the holidays alone, because that's not good. And hopefully everybody sits down to a great dinner and, is surrounded by good friends and good food and Alka-Seltzer or Tums or whatever. So don't overeat. And if you're going to imbibe, make sure somebody else has the keys, please. We want you around for next Thanksgiving. And I love talking with you guys, and I love talking with you guys about all the good things about Supernatural and stuff like that, because I love this show, and I love the people I've met because of this show. But there are some times, boy, there's been a lot of stuff going on online, which I know the second I say online, some people just went, oh, fucking no, here we go. Because sometimes you go online and you're like, this can't be the same fandom that I'm part of when I just chat with my friends. It can't be. All these people that are backbiting and sniping at each other and basically treating other people like shit. You know, these are not the giving, warm, friendly, funny, creative people that I usually associate with. Who are all these people, you know? I guess it all just comes down to opinion. Now, an opinion is a funny thing. And this goes for opinions about anything, not just about Supernatural. I realize I'm going to get a little esoteric here, but fuck it, it's my show. Opinions are kind of like plutonium. You know, they're really useful in small doses, but if you hold on to them too long and if you cling to them too tightly, shit can explode and get really bad. What I mean by that is, you know, there's a lot of people out there who have, very strong opinions about Supernatural and about the way the writing is done and the way the show is going and so on and so forth and stuff like that. Now, obviously, the show has been doing something right since it has been on the air for 13 seasons, you know, and we've watched the characters of Sam and Dean Winchester grow, and we've watched them gather friends, we've watched them lose friends, we've watched them, you know, have allies and enemies and all kinds of things happen. We've watched Supernatural grow into a universe. And that's awesome. That's an awesome thing. It is an awesome thing that Supernatural has been around long enough to grow a universe. When you think about all of the other fan universes that are out there, you know, you have the Marvel movie universe and you have the Marvel comic universe, which I'm not going to go into that confusing kind of thing. But, you know, you have the Star Wars universe and the Doctor Who universe, and you have universes for things that aren't even still, you know, on the air, although there's still fanfic and other things out there, like the Buffy universe and the Firefly universe and things like that. And that's awesome. But the thing that some people don't seem to be able to grasp is you can't have a universe with just two characters. And you can't have a universe that functions where if one character is not shown as often, it's not the end of the world. You know, there's certain people out there that if Sam is not in every single scene, the show sucks and it's terrible and they should cancel it. You know, and there's people that are the same way about Dean. If Dean's not the focus of every single episode, it was a horrible episode. And that kind of thinking doesn't make any sense. It just completely freaks me out. I don't get it. And I realize the next thing I'm about to do is going to make some people go, holy crap, you're old. But when I was a girl watching TV, yes, we had TV back then, you know, and I was watching Star Trek as a child and growing up watching Star Trek and other science fiction shows, I never thought to myself, wow, this episode has too much Captain Kirk in it. It really sucks. That never occurred to me. You know, and I mean, I realized that way back in the 60s, Al Gore hadn't invented the internet yet, and there weren't people online bitching about an episode like, you know, For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky, you know, that, oh, it's too much Dr. McCoy, blah, 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 and all this other stuff like that. And I'm not saying that people have to be like, oh, every episode is perfect. You know, I definitely don't feel that way. There's certain episodes of Supernatural that aren't my favorites, sex and violence, but, you know, I don't get it. I don't get the attitude that it always has to be about Sam or Dean all the time. You have a whole universe of other characters that interact with Sam and Dean. It would be really boring if it was just Sam and Dean. I mean, that's just my opinion for what it's worth. And the show is about the brothers, you know? You can have episodes that are a little more Sam heavy than Dean. That's not going to ruin the show. And you can have episodes that are more Dean heavy than Sam. That doesn't mean the show's in a downward spiral. And I'm saying that as a Samazon. So, you know, for what it is. All right. Getting off of that. There's another subject. I really have to talk about this one because this one just... I know that there are some Supernatural fans out there that are, you know, younger folks, which is great and amazes me that there are, you know, 10-year-olds, younger kids that are watching Supernatural and get it and are excited about it. And that's amazing. So if any of those kids are listening to this, go do something else right now. Mom, put them in another room for right now, okay? Just, they don't need to hear this part. Although I swear so much, I'm kind of surprised anybody under 12 listens to my show anyway. But apparently, this got all over Twitter, recently, that someone went to a Supernatural con and they brought with them some art that was explicit and asked for it to be signed. You know, this is fan art. As far as I know, it was Destiel. I don't know if it was, I think it was Destiel from what I've heard. What? Really? I don't know if, I really don't like to think that I have to educate grown adults. Goodness knows, because it's me and I really shouldn't be educating anybody about anything. I wouldn't trust me. You know, I wouldn't want me on a jury, to be perfectly frank. But really? You're going to bring porn to an autograph signing? Are you fucking kidding me? It's porn. Porn is not supposed to leave your house. That's why it's porn. It's supposed to be somewhere off, quiet, and private that you go look at when you want some sexy times, or if you and your adult partner want sexy times and want to look at it together to get in the mood, that's fine. No judging here. But it's porn! You don't bring it out in public! And you don't bring it to an actor to sign and be like, hi, I know your character's completely heterosexual in canon on the show, but could you sign this for me? What? I mean, it is pretty damn bad when I'm the one saying that's not appropriate. If we've hit that point where I'm saying shit's not appropriate, we have officially hit the fucking point of no fucking return. Because I have no fucking filter. Anybody who saw what happened with me and Jared back in 2011 at the Boston Supernatural Supernatural Convention knows that. Not ashamed, not sorry. I'm a woman, I have needs, don't judge me. So, that having been said, we're over here now. Whee! We're gonna get away from the negative and me lecturing shit now, because we're gonna get to the good stuff. We're gonna get to the important stuff, but we're almost there. Hold on. Wait 1 second. We're not at the reviews yet. Wait a minute. We have one more thing to talk about, and that is a segment that I really love doing. I love doing this because I love cluing people in to things that I find cool and interesting and fun, because I want them to find them cool and interesting and fun too. And in that vein, I'm going to talk about this week's fanfic of the week. This week's fanfic of the week is a lovely piece of work from a very nice person that I found on fanfiction.net, and the nice person's name is Istara. It's Istra. Ista. I'll get your name right sooner or later. You know, I'm doing this on my own. Don't worry. It's Ista, so I suppose that would be Ista. I'm going to go with that. I hope that's right, or even close. Ista is a very nice and talented person, and they have written 22 stories on fanfiction.net for the following genres: for Lord of the Rings, AI, Star Trek Voyager, Sherlock, The Walking Dead, The Avengers, Supernatural, Peaky Blinders, Star Wars, Doctor Strange, Firefly, OA, Guardians of the Galaxy, Hannibal, and Thor. So, as you can see, they are all over the damn road, which is one thing we love here at Platinum Rose's Garden. We love variety, hooray! Because we have a short attention span, yay! So, the one fic that I'd like to bring up that they have done, which is a really cool fic, is called A Fickle Thing. And I will read the synopsis thusly. Quote, a collection of one-shot hurt/comfort ficlets involving a man and his best friend, a crimson cloak. Delightful fluff abounds, end quote. Yes, this is a Doctor Strange fic. There are 9 chapters, and hopefully there'll be more. I don't know. Ista, has got their own lives to live, and they can probably do what they like. But it's dealing with the friendship, I'd call it a friendship, that grows between Dr. Stephen Strange and his cloak of levitation. Now, for those of you who are going, what the what? The cloak of levitation that Dr. Strange wears is sentient. It thinks somehow. Don't ask me how. Fuck you, it's magic. That's a phrase we used a lot when I played D&D. Everything was, if you didn't understand it, fuck you, it's magic. I really need to get that on a t-shirt. A Fickle Thing is very funny. There are some very touching scenes in it that actually brought me to tears more than once. It's really a really great fic, and I hope you will check it out, and the other fics that Ista has written. You can check them out over on fanfiction.net. Put Ista, I-S-T-A, in the author search section and look up their stuff and go give it a read. And if you read her stuff, please leave reviews, because authors love reviews. We're kind of needy that way. And if you'd like to read my stuff, you can also find it on fanfiction.net. You just go over and check off author search and put in Platinum Rose Lady, and you can find my wonderful weirdness. And speaking of weirdness, let's get to this week's Supernatural doubleheader episode recap.
Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest.
Season 13, Episode 5 of Supernatural, Advanced Thanatology. And before we go any further, because I love you guys that darn much, I will save you a trip to the dictionary. Thanatology is the scientific study of death. The more you know. So, we begin with then, and then is the life of a hunter through the words of Dean Winchester and video and images that have been seared into our hearts forever. And we all know that the life of a hunter is not some glamorous James Bond-esque sort of existence. It's full of death and pain and hurt and loss and a lot of other bad things. We see the horseman Death, who was previously portrayed by the wonderful Julian Richings, and the scene where Dean killed Death. Death had ordered Dean to kill Sam as part of a deal to take Dean off of Earth so he wouldn't kill people while he was still holding on to the mark of Cain. Instead of killing Sam, Dean turned around and destroyed Death, or at least that incarnation of Death. We saw Castiel killing the Reaper Billy by stabbing her in the back when she was about to take one of the Winchester's lives. And we thought we saw the last of the beautiful Lisa Berry. And now we are at now. Now is 2 teens outside of a creepy-looking house in Colorado that are apparently going on some sort of a ghost hunting expedition. Evan and Sean are going into this creepy-looking rundown building, which, as it turns out, was a mental home at one point, which has obviously been closed for quite a bit and has fallen into disrepair. Both boys are armed with video cameras, and they're, going on some sort of a ghost hunting expedition, which is a terrible idea. I don't know why people do this. I actually have friends who do this, and I'm like, oh, that's great, that's awesome, have fun. You're never coming back. They've all come back. My friends have all come back. But anyway, on to Evan and Sean, who are walking around this place, which is deserted, creepy, and definitely would give me vibes of, yeah, no, not going in. See ya, bye. They go into one of the rooms, and up against the wall, Evan's a lot more excited about this whole thing than Sean, who apparently is, smarter and wants to get out of there. There's a row of masks up against the wall, which I had actually recognized. They're what are called plague masks. They were worn by doctors in olden times to try and filter out the diseases that people were fighting at the time, usually bubonic plague. They're these long, kind of beak-like masks. They're very friggin' creepy in the best of circumstances. In this circumstance, they are really bad. Because once one of the boys picks up one of these masks, everything goes to shite really quickly, and they are attacked by a ghost wielding a drill. Sean manages to run out of the building. He still has one of these masks in his backpack, but Evan's left behind to face his fate, which is obviously not going to be a good one. And we get the opening credits, and we get the Bat Cave in Lebanon, Kansas. It turns out that Sam's found a case for him and Dean to work on. After he comes in the kitchen, finds Dean making himself a PB&J for breakfast, and offers Dean a beer, which is a bit odd. Sam usually doesn't do things like that. I mean, it's nice, but it's kind of a strange thing. He tells Dean that he's found a case, and talking about these boys that were in Colorado, one of them's, turned up missing. He also tells Dean that they don't need to bring Jack with them on this. Jack's busy watching DVDs of Sam's, some fantasy DVDs. Sam brings up a movie called Red Sonja, and both of the Beastmaster movies. Really? Really, Sam? Red Sonja? Really? You couldn't show him the Lord of the Rings movies or Harry Potter or something? The Brigitte Nielsen? Okay, whatever. I mean, I know why guys like watching it, but whew. Dean's just a little surprised that Sam wants to do this, just the two of them. Although, Sam's like, well, it'll be fine. We'll just ward the place up and Jack will be okay. He's got something to keep him busy. And it's something he feels like they should do together as brothers. Just hunt like they used to do. The whole saving people, hunting things, the family business kind of jazz. And Dean's all up for it fine. So the guys show up at the home of Sean, the boy that made it out of this apparently haunted building, and they're wearing their Fed suits and looking absolutely delicious as usual. They hand off their fake IDs using the aliases Agents Page and Plant. The thing is, this time Dean's going to be Agent Plant and Agent Page, and Sam's going to be Agent Plant, which Dean finds a little weird because Sam usually picks using the Agent Page ID. Whatever. Although it's, a little strange. They talk with the young man's mother, and they want to talk to Sean himself. That, as it turns out, is not going to be as easy as just walking in and saying, hey, Sean, let's talk. As Penny, Sean's mother, explains, since Sean came back home, they found him wandering the street. Sean hasn't spoken a word. The doctors say it's not something physical. There's nothing physically wrong with him other than he had a slight ding on his head. There's no physical reason he shouldn't be able to talk. He's just not talking. Sam sits with the mother and talks with her some more, and Dean goes to Sean's room and tries to speak with him, and he notices what Sean is drawing, which are these images of the plague mask, and he's drawing them over and over and over again. That is never a good sign. Never, ever, 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 ever. Mom's talking with Sam, as I mentioned, and she mentions that Sean hung out with these 3 boys and they did everything together. Evan, who's still missing, and another boy named Mike, who isn't saying anything to the police, but Mom feels like Mike might be hiding something. Dean is still sitting with Sean and trying to reach out to him, talking with him about the monster that he's drawing. And he tells Sean that Dean, and his brother are the people that stop the monsters, but that Sean has to talk to him to get the information so they can do this. We see the guys pulling up to a motel to crash for the evening, and Sam tells them that they should head to a strip club, which is a scene that's actually kind of adorable because Sam's trying to convince Dean that they should head out and go have a good time at a local strip club called the Clam Diver. You stay classy, Colorado. And, Dean is basically like, what the actual fuck? He's really like, what is going on with you? And Sam is trying to, he's being adorable and kind of blushy about the whole thing, talking about how the place has a great rating. I'm like, do they rate strip clubs on Yelp now? Is that a part of Yelp I haven't found yet? Kind of brings a whole new meaning to Yelp, doesn't it? As it turns out, Dean's finally like, all right, enough. You gave me a beer at breakfast time. You gave me the ID that you usually take, and all these other things. That it was basically Sam just being really nice to his brother, and Sam tells him the truth. He's like, he brings up a remark that Dean had made previously, that he doesn't believe in anything anymore. And Sam's trying to convince Dean that that's not really who Dean is, that he's the person that, is always the person that's going to be the last person in there fighting, with a knife between their teeth and blood and guts and Sparta and the whole thing. He's just trying to pull his brother back from the edge of a very, very dark place. To which, Dean tells him he's gonna, he'll be all right, that he'll fight his way back. When Sam asks him how, Dean's response is, same way I always do, bullets, bacon, and booze. A lot of booze. Okay. I realize this is gonna get me pegged as a total mother hen type. We all know that's not the best way to do things. I mean, I've gotten over my snit of being upset with Dean. I'm just kind of like, I can't stay mad at these guys. I just can't. I'm sorry. I was like, oh, come here, let me hug you. We cut back to Sean's house, though, where things aren't so good. We see Sean in bed. He wakes up screaming, because after what he's been through, I'd fucking wake up screaming, too. His mother comes in and comforts him, tells him to go back to sleep. And when he tries to go back to sleep, he hears a noise and, sits up, and he's attacked by this ghost wielding a drill that we saw before. We cut to the next morning in the motel the Winchesters are staying at, and it's about 8-something in the morning. The alarm goes off. Sam hits the alarm looking wonderfully disheveled first thing in the morning. I'll comb your hair for you, baby. And he kind of looks over at his brother's bed and realizes it hasn't been slept in. Turns around, looks on the floor. Dean is lying on the floor, snoring like a bear, with a bra around his neck and a bottle over by his hand. I was like, okay, good for you. You had a good night. Fantastic. Men. Can't live with them. Can't leave them by the side of the road when you're done with them. Sam, being a nice person and probably not wanting to deal with Dean when he's hungover, because that's scary, lets his brother sleep and goes off and interviews the kid that wasn't there, Mike, about what Sean and Evan were doing. Mike is trying to convince himself, and it's very obvious he doesn't believe what he's saying, that he's totally trying to convince himself of this, that this is just Evan pulling one of Evan's pranks. They went to this, they were supposed to all go to this place, the Meadows home, and, which is well known in the area as this, place where some very terrible shit happened. And it was supposed to be the three of them, but Mike chickened out. We cut back to the hotel where Dean is now awake, wearing sunglasses indoors, and very, 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 tack about 10 more berries onto there, hung over. How that man is even standing up and not falling face first into the scrambled eggs, I have no clue. Sam comes across his brother standing at the breakfast, obviously complimentary breakfast that the hotel has, pretty much scooping up every single piece of bacon that he can get a hold of, short of just grabbing a whole pig. I know bacon's supposed to help when you have a hangover, from what I've heard. I wouldn't know. Nice, good Christian girl that I am. I don't drink anymore. Stupid medicine. But Sam tells him the information that he's found out about this place that the boys disappeared at, where all the bad shit happened. That this was a place, a mental home run by a Dr. Avery Meadows. As it turns out, Dr. Meadows had one, from the look of things, Dr. Meadows had one cure-all for absolutely everything. Lobotomizing somebody. No matter what anybody came for, they got lobotomized. And he kept the patients / victims in his home, and he would run experiments on them after he, drilled a hole in their brain and made them docile. Eventually people found out what the fuck was going on with this psycho, and he was arrested and executed. So obviously we're dealing with a malevolent spirit in the house. They get a call from, and we find out about also that this doctor had these plague masks in his home, in his office, in his place of business. Sam brings up that he wore them, and that when he was wearing one when they arrested him, they had to hold him down to pull it off of him. And Dean recognizes the mask as being the drawing that Sean was, drawing over and over again. Sam gets a call from Sean's mother. Sean's gone missing. The Winchesters head to the doctor's home / medical facility. The brothers break into the house. They go inside. The EMF meter's going crazy, and the ghost of the doctor appears, very creepy looking specter, and throws Sam out of the way and tries to attack Dean with a drill. Sam strikes at the ghost from behind with an iron crowbar, and the ghost disappears. They continue to search the house, and the Winchesters find the examination room, but as soon as Dean touches one of the masks, they hear this sound of a drill and a scream. Dean grabs all the masks, throws them in a trash can, and starts to burn them as Sam puts down salt in front of the door to keep the ghost from coming in, but there's a blast of wind which scatters the salt. The ghost enters the room. Dean manages to get the masks to go up in flames, which causes the ghost of the doctor to go up in flames. They continue through the house, but the thing is, Sam notices that both he and Dean, he can see their breath. So there's obviously still ghosts in the house, which they realize when everything goes fucking nuts. Lights start exploding, shit starts getting tossed around. It's gone, completely crazy. Obviously, the ghosts of the house is still haunted, but it's not haunted by the ghost of the doctor anymore, which means the house is being haunted by the ghosts of the doctor's victims, that their bodies are somewhere on the grounds. And Dean comes up with the solution. The only way they're going to find out where the bodies are buried is to ask the ghosts themselves. But since the ghosts obviously don't have enough power to materialize in a way they can be seen, they can only like throw things around and make noise, Dean decides he's going to go to them by piercing the veil. So Dean takes a small box out that has these 2 syringes in them. The boxes also make a note about Dr. Robert, who you might remember from Appointment in Samara, and injects himself with one of the needles, tells Sam to give him 3 minutes. All the while Sam is protesting, "What in the fuck are you doing?" And Dean dies. And we see him standing over his body and over Sam. And he starts trying to search the house, trying to get the attention of the ghosts who are just kind of wandering around the house in a daze. And he's met by a young woman that identifies herself as Jessica and says that she's there to take him to where he needs to go, which means Jessica is a Reaper. Odd choice of name, considering the background of the show, but whatever. Dean basically tells Jessica in no uncertain terms to screw and continues on his search. And Jessica goes to this enormous dark place. I mean, the walls are dark. There are these dark bookshelves that are all marked W, and announces that Dean Winchester is in the Vale. We see Sam pouring salt around Dean's body so he can't be attacked by any of the spirits. Dean finds Sean's ghost, and finds out what happened that night, that the ghost of the doctor followed Sean back and could gain entrance to the house because Sean had the plague doctor mask still in his backpack, and the ghost possessed him, made him come to the doctor's house, return the mask, and then kill himself with one of the doctor's drills. Sean is really scared, obviously, and, he wants to go home, and he tells Dean that Evan's there as well, and they can't leave. They can't leave the house. Sam still standing over, sitting with Dean's body, and has checked the time and kept watch on the time. And the 3 minutes are up, and he injects Dean with the cure to whatever Dean used to kill himself. I'm assuming the cure is some kind of adrenaline or something, but nothing happens. Dean doesn't come back to life. And Sam, needless to say, is freaking the fuck out, which is completely understandable. I mean, I realize some cynical people out there might be like, well, Dean's died in front of Sam before, but to those people, shut the fuck up. This is Sam, and he's hurting, and it upsets me. Dean has come back to his body by this point, and is also like, what the fuck, why am I still dead? And hears a voice and looks up the stairs and realizes they're not alone, that someone else is there with them. Billy. Which is disturbing, since we all know that Billy was killed by Castiel in, back in the episode First Blood. She looks different. She still looks like Billy. She looks, amazing, because Lisa Berry's a very beautiful lady. But she looks, more elegant, I think is probably the word I want. She looks, Billy before had a very laid back, kind of style about her that was definitely, attractive. As I said, see, Lisa Berry is a beautiful person. But there's something about this Billy that's definitely got a more, I don't know if this is a real word, we're just going to run with it, regality. We'll go with that. And we find out why Billy's got this whole new tude, as Billy obviously has other new powers, because she freezes Sam in place, just kind of stops time right there. It turns out that there are rules. The universe has rules. The Winchesters tend to take them and chuck them in the shredder, but there are rules. And the rule is that if the I'm making this sound like the Miss America pageant, and I don't want to do that. When the being that is death, if the being that is death is struck down, the most recent reaper to die becomes the new death. So that would explain why Billy is looking much more regal-ish. Regally? More regal? Run with me, okay? And also why she's wielding a badass scythe. Yup, Billy's the new death. Yay? Maybe? I'm not sure. Because the look in Dean's eyes is definitely, oh shit. Because he can definitely remember Billy's threat about if the Winchesters ever die again. When the Winchesters die, they're not going to heaven or hell. They're going to get tossed into the empty. Which we all now know what the empty is. Billy takes Dean to what she calls her reading room, which is the room that we saw before, this enormous room full of these stacks of books, or notebooks, or whatever you'd call them. Death Notes? Would it be accurate to call them Death Notes? Please don't hit me, anime fans. I'm sorry. What Billy wants now, as it turns out, is not to rub Dean's face in the fact that she has him. She wants information. Because, death keeps an eye on stuff, and there's been this rip between universes, and she knows that the Winchesters have walked that walk between worlds, and wants to know how that happened. And Dean tells her that he'll tell her, and he'll tell her the truth. But he wants something in return. And what he wants isn't to go back to life, isn't to rejoin Sam. He wants the ghosts that are trapped in the Meadows house to be freed. And Billy doesn't even hesitate. She agrees to it. And we see Jessica, the Reaper, at the Meadows house, and she's in a room with the spirits of all the people that the doctor had killed and obviously had buried their bodies on the ground somewhere, including Evan and Sean. And we see other people in, hospital gowns, men, women, children, which I have to be honest made me sick. And she tells them that she's there to take them to their next destination. She tells them not to be afraid, and she's going to help them. And we see them leave. We see them go to wherever they're supposed to go. And hopefully they all went to heaven. And Dean tells Billy the truth. I mean, we're sitting there going, is he going to try and bullshit her? Please don't try and bullshit her, Dean. And he doesn't. He tells her the truth. He tells her about Jack. He tells her what Jack is. He tells her that when Jack was born, it tore open this gap into this other universe, which Dean brings up the fact that the other universe isn't Candyland. Yeah. It's not Candyland in the same way that I'm slightly oversexed, as in a lot. It's not Candyland. As she talks with him more, Billy comes to the conclusion that Dean has changed. That he's kind of given up. That she says, you tell people you'll work through it, but you won't. You can't. And that scares the hell out of you. Or am I wrong? When Dean says, she knows, she can see into his heart, that he's tearing himself apart internally. He's shredding himself about what happened to Cass, about what happened to his mom, about all the stuff that's happened, but he's still Dean. I mean, at the end of it all, he's still Dean, and he won't beg. He won't beg for his life. He won't beg. As it turns out, the shelf that she's looking at and the shelf that she shows him is a huge shelf of Dean's possible deaths. All the ways Dean could die. And she mentions a few of them, one of them including being burned alive by a red-headed witch. Don't think we didn't catch that show. Rowena might be back? Maybe. Also bringing up that he might die being stabbed by a ghoul in a graveyard. But she says that Dean is not supposed to die today. She says now that she's become death, she understands the importance of humans more than she did before. And especially the importance of the Winchesters. And that they have work they have to do still. And she tells Dean to keep fighting. Dean's not quite done yet, though, because obviously there's one thing he feels like he needs to know. He knows, or at least he thinks he knows, in his heart, Castiel is dead, even though we as the audience know he's not. Hooray! When Dean goes to ask Billy about his mother, she raises her hand, and all of a sudden Dean is back to life. He, sits up with this huge gasp of air, and Sam's telling him he's all right, everything's okay, you're all right. And we get a cutaway. We come back to a really grim scene of the next day, and the police who are at the Meadows clinic taking out the bodies of all of the people that the doctor murdered. And we see Sam talking with Mrs. Rader, Sean's mother. And Sam walks over to the Impala, and he and Dean talk, and when Sam asks him if he's okay, Dean tells him that he's not okay. He tells him that he's far from okay. And that he's tried fighting, he keeps fighting. He has all this time that he's been fighting because he believes that what they're doing is important. That what the Winchesters do, what hunters do, is important. But now, after losing his mother and losing Cass, he's not sure. Sam says, so now you don't believe anymore. And Dean's response is, I just need a win. I just need a damn win. And the Winchesters get into the car and drive off. And over the next scene, we have this montage, and we have a really hard to watch scene. I mean, it's beautifully shot, but it's so difficult to watch. While the song "It's Never Too Late" from Steppenwolf is playing over the scene, we see the Impala driving along in the dark. Well, actually, before we see that scene, we see what has to be one of the most difficult moments in a person's life. I can't even imagine going through something like this. We see Sean's mother walking over to a body that's been taken out of the house under, it's in a body bag, and they take the top of it away, and she can see her son's dead body, and you just see this woman just shatter right in front of you, and it just kills you. I can't even imagine what that feels like to be a parent and lose your child. I can't even picture that. We see the Impala driving in the dark. We see Billy in her reading room reading one of these notebooks. We don't know which one. And then we cut back to the Impala. It's still dark. Sam's asleep in the seat next to Dean. Dean gets a phone call, and his face takes on this change, and Sam wakes up from the phone ringing, and he's like, what? And Dean doesn't answer him. We see them driving to what looks like some kind of a mission. We see a cross outside that's lit up, a fluorescent light cross. Usually that's something like a mission or something like that. And we see the Winchesters getting out of the Impala, and there's a figure at the payphone. And the figure turns around, and it's Castiel. And we see Sam's face, and we see Dean's face. And the episode ends. And I will admit, I teared up. I completely teared up. Oh my gosh. That ending was just so powerful and so amazing. I give Advanced Thanatology 4 bouquets out of 5. It was cool to see the brothers back just being hunters again. That was really cool. I cannot say enough stuff about Lisa Berry. Lisa is such a wonderfully talented lady, and she's a terrific actress, besides being one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, ever, anywhere. I thought she was gorgeous as Billy the Reaper. Now as Billy Death, Billy the embodiment of death, because saying Death Billy just sounds wrong. Sorry. But Billy the embodiment of death, oh my gosh, the elegant meter just went boo through the roof. Just fantastic. Just so incredible and so amazing. So obviously we have not seen the last of Billy, to which I'm like, yay! I'm all excited and happy about that. I also want to bring up two other people real quick. The young man that played Sean, his name is Seth Isaac Johnson. I really, really, really thought he was amazing, especially in the scene where he's come back as a ghost and he's talking to Dean and he's talking about how he wants to go home and he wants to see his mother again, and it's so incredibly sad. And the lady that played his mother, Penny, is an actress named Alison Down, and Miss Down, you just blew my mind, just blew my socks off. You were so incredible and so gut-wrenching at the end when she sees her son's body. It really, literally just, I was literally just kind of sitting there with this huge lump in my throat, and that was because of your acting. Obviously, I don't really need to say anything about Jared and Jensen, but I will. It's every time you guys do a new show, it never amazes me. It always amazes me, I should say, the layers that you guys can get out of your characters. And you were just amazing this time. And you were only in one scene in this episode, Misha Collins, but dang it, Misha. You did it to me again. You do this to me all the time, Misha. You make me cry. And you're like wrecking my reputation as a hard ass, which I totally don't have. But I loved this episode. I thought it was great. And it takes us right in to season 13, episode 6 of Supernatural, Tombstone. And I don't mean the pizza. The then is dealing with the thing we've been dealing with since the beginning of the season. I shouldn't say the thing. That's not nice. The person we've been dealing with since the beginning of the season. Jack Klein, the son of Kelly Klein and Lucifer. Jack, who is a Nephilim, which means he is more powerful than his father, who is an archangel. So let's talk about that for a minute. And the fact that Jack is trying to, for lack of a better term, and to quote a Michael W. Smith song, find his place in this world. We get a little talking about zombies, which in the supernatural verse are pretty much the same thing they are every place else. Undead people that nom on living people and get killed by headshots. And Castiel's murdered by Lucifer, Castiel winding up in the empty, Castiel dealing with a cosmic entity in the empty, and Castiel coming back to Earth and seeing the Winchesters. And now we're at Now. Now is in Dodge City, Kansas. And we see Dean and a man walking through a cemetery, and they're both armed, and it's nighttime. So it's obviously something bad, and they're hunting something bad. They wind up getting separated, and the man that's hunting with Dean is all of a sudden pulled underground by a hand that reaches up through the ground, grabs his ankle, and yanks him down into a tunnel. And we see Dean looking down into the tunnel and being like, oh, hell. And we cut to a title card that says 48 hours earlier. 48 hours earlier was when we saw Castiel and the Winchesters reuniting, and Sam and Dean are both like, this, Dean's like, is this really you? And Sam's like, no, you're dead. Castiel tells him that he annoyed an ancient cosmic being to the point where he was kicked out of the empty. And Sam says, I don't even know what to say. Dean says, I do. Welcome home, pal, and gives Cass a big hug, and I squeal like a 12-year-old at a Justin Bieber concert. I can't help it! I'm sorry. I'm a big, big proponent of, Castiel as the third Winchester brother, the goofy one. Sorry. And we see them, embracing and talking, and he tells them about the empty and about at first he thought that he had been brought back by something Sam and Dean did, and they tell them, no, we didn't know how to bring you back. Sam brings up, was it God that brought you back? And Cass says that God has no power in the empty, to which I was like, say what now? But I'm Catholic, we're like that. Anyway, had to take a drink, sorry. The Winchesters tell him that probably it might have been Jack that brought him back, because Cass says how he was asleep and he heard a voice that woke him up. We cut back to the Batcave in Lebanon, Kansas, and Jack is working on the laptop and winds up being reunited with Cass, and we get more hugs, and I squeal again. I can't help it. Castiel looks, which I was kind of like, I thought he might look slightly surprised, but okay, about the fact that Jack is not an infant. Jack happens to be a young man, a strappingly handsome young man, but whatever. And Jack shows the Winchesters and Cass that he can now move the pencil. There's a pencil on the table, and he can move it with his mind, something that Sam was trying to have him do before, trying to figure out how he can use his powers instead of his powers using him. It's very X-Men. It also turns out that Jack's found them a case, and it turns out that it's a case in Dodge City, Kansas. The case being it turns out that a pawnbroker was given a piece of jewelry to pawn. It was a pocket watch. And the date on the pocket watch was very old, and it turned out that it was supposedly that the pocket watch was buried with its owner. And that was part of, the lore about the person. But it turns out that the grave where the person was buried with the pocket watch in it had been robbed and the body was gone. So it sounds like they've got some kind of a case on their hands. They're not really sure what. Jack's thinking zombies immediately. And Dean is very, very, very excited about the idea that they're going to go to Dodge City. Because Dean's into the whole West. Because when it comes to cowboy stuff, Dean de-ages to an 8-year-old boy. It's cute, but it's weird. The place that they wind up staying in is a motel or a hotel, I suppose, that it's got a Wild West suite, and it's very cowboy-y. I don't know if that's a word. What do you want? I grew up in Massachusetts. Dean is really, really, really excited about being here and rattles off all this trivia about the pictures on the walls and the people they are and stuff like that, which is actually kind of adorable. I mean, it really kind of is. Dean feels like, and when he and Sam talk, Dean's positively giddy, but you can tell it's more about not really the room and all the atmosphere and stuff in the case and all that. It's about having Cass back. He has his friend back, and that's important to him. And he basically tells Sam that he feels like having Castiel back is a win. It's a big win. We cut to a rather lonely stretch of road. Excuse me. At night, where we see a truck by the side of the road that a police officer is checking on. He is telling the people on the walkie-talkie police band thing, I'm sorry, I don't know anything about law enforcement, to, run the plates and all that stuff. He goes to check on the truck and hears from the dispatcher, I think that's what they call it. I need to watch more Cops. That the truck has been reported as stolen. The problem is that the police officer is grabbed by something under the truck and dragged under said truck, and obviously something happens that's extraordinarily bad. We did find out earlier on that Jack said he doesn't sleep much. Oh, poor honey, you need your 8 hours. And, oh, good God, I have turned into my mom. Oh my God. Not that my mom's not a great person, but sheesh. And Castiel brings up that he doesn't sleep at all. So what does he do? Just sit there and stare at the Winchesters all night? I don't know. We see the Winchesters sleeping and Jack and Castiel talking. And they're talking about Jack's mom, Kelly, and issues of trust and stuff like that. And it's really, really, really wicked sweet. I mean, almost diabetes-causing sweet. And Castiel says something to Jack that I was like, I totally agree with that. He says, Kelly would be so proud of you. And I was like, yeah, she would. Because Jack is really trying to be a good person. Even though he has the whole fucking universe tell him that he's destined to go dark side, he's trying to be good because he knows that would make his mom happy, and also that's what he feels like he wants to be. And I was just like, oh, come here, let me hug you, you're just so cute. Jack, who's obviously been monitoring the police bands because somebody apparently taught him how to do that, I would assume Sam, he gets a blip on his laptop and goes off to wake up the Winchesters, something that Cass is yelling at him, don't do that, as he goes to wake Dean up first and almost gets his face shot off because Dean never sleeps without a gun under his pillow. Dean is very much not a morning person, as after he almost flat out murders Jack, he's asking for coffee. Cass mentions how Dean is grumpy waking up like a bear. I think that's kind of insulting to bears, because I don't think bears are quite that rude. I don't think bears are armed. So, or is it that whole right to bear arms thing? I don't know. Anyway, moving on. It turns out that the officer that was killed was covered, this officer's body was found covered in bite marks. Yuck. Which is convincing Jack more and more that what they're dealing with is a zombie. So they decide that Dean and Cass are going to go check out the crime scene, and Jack and Sam are going to go check out the cemetery. We see Dean and Cass in Western garb, although Cass still has his trench coat on, which, black trench coat maybe would have worked. Tan trench coat, so not working. Not fitting in with the Western thing. Although I have to admit, seeing Dean in the cowboy boots with the bolo tie and the cowboy hat and the whole thing and all that's, ooh. You put a saddle on me anytime you want to, big boy. Bad Kim, no cookie. Anyway. And they talk for a minute about, trying to blend in and talking about the whole movie Tombstone, which Dean made Cass watch. You made him watch Tombstone? Really? You went for a Western movie and that's what you came up with? Not Unforgiven? Okay, whatever. Or 310 to Yuma, the Christian Bale version? That was awesome. They meet up with Sergeant Phillips, who is a rather gruff individual, Sergeant Joe Phillips, who, as it turns out, was the uncle of the officer that was killed. This guy is major league pissed and determined to find out who has caused the death of his nephew. We see Sam and Jack go to the mortuary, which is next to the cemetery. Convenient. And they meet with the local undertaker, who happens to be a very nicely, very pretty young lady, who has a fantastic sense of fashion, I have to say, named Athena Lopez. Athena, who lives next to the cemetery, lives in apparently the home of the mortuary, and a lot of mortuaries have like homes attached to them and such. But she wasn't home the night of the grave robbery. She was at a concert. Jack, needless to say, is dressed as an FBI agent as well. Athena comments on his youth, and Sam writes it off as him being a trainee. Can I just say, Jack looks absolutely adorable in his little FBI getup. He just looks so cute. I can't take it. We see Sam and Jack at the cemetery, and Sam just hops right down into the open grave, like that's business as usual. Oh no, wait. Yeah, for the Winchesters, I guess it kind of is. The coffin itself looks like somebody smashed into it and pulled the body out or something. It turns out that what they're dealing with is not a zombie, it's a ghoul. And as we all remember from the Supernatural episode Jump the Shark, ghouls in the supernatural universe are creatures that feast on dead bodies. They will eat live ones when they can get them. And they can take on the physical appearance of the last person they devoured. We see Athena back in her workplace, but we also see that she's being followed by somebody. The guys are tossing around theories, perhaps that Athena is the ghoul, but Dean discounts that, bringing up the fact that if she was a ghoul, anything she wanted to take from the body, she could take before the body was embalmed. She wouldn't need to go and dig them up. She would just, she could rip out a spleen here, or a liver there, or whatever, and nobody'd be the wiser. We see Jack pulling up the traffic cam of the local area, and we see them looking at the truck that was reported stolen, that the other police officer got attacked in. And the truck is being driven by a figure that Dean recognizes. A man named, a gentleman that was known by the name Dave Mather. The issue is Dave Mather has been dead since the 1800s. He was a gunslinger and has not been on this plane of existence for quite a while. The thing is, it turns out Athena is in a relationship with this man named Dave, and she obviously doesn't realize that Dave is not, Dave is a ghoul. Dave, this person that she knows as Dave, is the ghoul that broke into the cemetery, broke into the coffin, ate from the corpse of Dave Mather, the original Dave Mather, and is now wearing this man's face. Has taken on his form. Yuck. Athena has gotten some good news in the mail, though. She has received a scholarship to a school that does makeup and special effects. And she's really excited about it. She really wants to go to Los Angeles and be part of this school. Something Dave is not completely crazy about, because it's going to cost money and such. Jack remembers the picture that he saw in Athena's office of her and Dave. And so Sam and Dean wind up going back to Athena's place and question her about Dave. She tells them that Dave's not there, that Dave has gone to the local bank, which is actually true. Dave is at the local bank, robbing it. He is doing the whole bandana tied around the face, gun in the face, empty the money kind of a thing, real, out of an old Western and such. The thing is, when Dave leaves the bank, he's got a welcoming committee outside, namely the Winchesters, Jack and Cass, which sets off an enormous firefight. Cass tries to keep Jack safe by having him wait behind a car. Jack's not having any of it, and when he gets out from behind the car and approaches Dave shoots him twice in the chest, and Jack bleeds, and that's about it. Doesn't fall down, doesn't, die, or anything like that. And that throws Jack's concentration off enough that that throws Dave's concentration off enough that Jack uses his powers. But the problem is, while he's using them on Dave to try and stop him, he also unintentionally ends up using them on a security guard that had run outside to try and stop Dave. Both of the men are thrown backwards, but the thing is, the security guard is thrown into a pillar really hard, and we hear a very sickening crack. And Dean chases after Dave, who gets away on foot and winds up completely getting away because of an unlucky truck driver, and Dean loses him. Jack is frantically trying to get Castiel to, fix the security guard, heal his injuries. And Cass tries, but he can't. The man's dead. We cut back to the motel, and Jack's just sitting there, just staring straight ahead. He's just crushed. He's just completely he used his powers, and somebody innocent died. And he, how he said before he didn't feel anything, you can tell he's feeling this, and it doesn't feel good. Dean tells Sam and Cass to take Jack back to the bunker in Lebanon. He'll stay behind and handle the ghoul. Athena winds up finding out about Jack's extracurricular activities when he stumbles in bloody from the bank robbery and brings up the fact that he had gotten the concert tickets by stealing that watch and pawning it. So she figures out that Jack is a grave robber and a murderer. We see Dean showing up at the funeral home at night and showing up pretty much about the same time as Sergeant Phillips, who is not wearing his policeman's badge. This has become very, very personal. And this is where we came in. We see Jack and Sergeant Phillips in the graveyard walking around, and the whole thing of Sergeant Phillips being yanked down this hole, which leads into a tunnel, and Dean very hesitantly going down the hole after him. We've already established before, Dean does not like doing shit like this. I don't really blame him. I don't like tight spaces, and a hole in the ground in a cemetery, yeah, I'd pass. Fuck you, no. We see the Impala driving down the road. Sam's driving, and Cass is sitting in the front seat with him, and Jack is sitting in the back seat, and you can tell there is some bad shit going on in that kid's head. Both of them try to reach out to Jack, telling Jack it's not his fault, it was an accident. Cass telling him that he's killed people that he's loved, and that he wishes he could tell him that it would get easier, but it doesn't. He tells Jack that it was a mistake, but that doesn't mean that he can't do better from it, that he can do better from it. Jack just asks both of them to stop talking. We see Dean enter we see Dean at the end of the tunnel, which turns out to be Athena's office, where she does her mortuary work. It's not the most graceful landing in the world. It's not a superhero landing or anything like that. It's just basically Dean hitting the end of the tunnel and just falling. Just whoop, splat. Like I said, not a superhero ending, but whatever. We can't all be Captain America. The thing is, he gets into the room. Athena's tied to a chair, and the Sergeant Phillips is lying on the floor, a bloody mess. He's still alive, but Dean asks him what happened. The Sarge explains that Dave threw him around like he was nothing, and the Sarge is trying to get Dean to look behind him with his eyes, and we hear the click of a gun. Dave's standing behind Dean, gun drawn. And Dave holds his gun on Dean and, tells him he's not going to leave there, and, it's basically over. It's basically what he's telling him. And when Dean is obviously not afraid of him and not, not begging for his life or anything like that. Dave makes a remark about how Dean doesn't even have a gun, and Dean's response is, no, but he does, and does a quick step to the side, and there's Sergeant Phillips still lying on the ground, but has his gun, and shoots Dave and blasts Dave's head clean off. We cut back to the next day, and we see Dean talking with Sergeant Phillips about what happened, and about telling Sergeant Phillips the story that he needs to tell the other authorities, that, Dave was the grave robber, Dave was the murderer, and that he attacked Sergeant Phillips. Sergeant Phillips got his gun and shot him, and that he's never even seen Dean Winchester. And also, by the way, Dave was the one that killed the guard at the bank. Dean comes back to the Batcave and realizes the same thing that Sam and Cass have, that Jack is not coping well at all with what happened. When Jack says that maybe he is a monster, the first person that tells him no, he isn't, is Dean. Dean tells him that he thought that he was, but he knows now that he isn't. That, if you have to do these things, you have to do these things sometimes that aren't, they don't feel right, and you make mistakes like that, and that if that's the truth, then maybe they're all monsters, and we know that's not true. Sam, Dean, Cass, they're the good guys, and I know in my heart Jack's the good guy too. Jack says that if he stays, he'll hurt them. He knows, and he's convinced himself that if he can't make the world a better place, that he can't do anything good with these powers. And he tells them that if he stays, he'll hurt them. And he doesn't want to hurt them. He tells them that they're all that he has. And he says that he has to go. And he raises his hand, and there's this wave of power that throws the Winchesters and Castiel to the ground. And there's the sound of a flutter of wings, and Jack's gone. I give Tombstone 4.5 bouquets out of 5. I really thought it was a great episode. I think that we've run into a very bad place now that Jack's out in the wind. Obviously, that is not a good thing, because heaven's looking for him, hell's looking for him, and that can't be a good thing, because both of them want him for his powers, not for him. The next episode of Supernatural is this coming Thursday, which is a bit weird, if you want my honest opinion, being that it's, Thanksgiving and all that. But before I get to that, I want to say just real quick about this episode. It was just really, I liked, and I know some people have bitched about the whole Dean's remark about free will, Team Free Will 2.0. I'm sorry, they need friends. They need allies. They need people in their lives. It's part of the supernatural universe. Deal. And the look on Dean's face when he sees Cass is just really beautiful. I loved it. And the look on Sam's face was just as amazing. The kind of, I don't believe you're here, but I'm so happy you are look on Jared's face was just lovely. And Alexander Calvert, my gosh, I can't say enough about you, Honey Bunch. You're just amazing. You bring so much to Jack, and you make him as real as Sam and Dean and Cass feel to us as the fans, and we appreciate that, and we appreciate you. So we'll have to see what comes up next. Which comes up next is on Thanksgiving this Thursday. I don't get it, but whatever. I'm not a programmer. War of the Worlds, which obviously is going to have Sam and Dean and Castiel searching for Jack, who's done a runner. And it also is going to have Heaven searching for Jack and Hell searching for Jack. Specifically, the last prince of Hell, Asmodeus, searching for Jack. And that can't be good. Okay, before I ride off into the sunset, kids, I have some things that I'd like to bring up to you real quick that I feel like are important to us as fans. Supernatural fans have been nothing but giving and fun people, and giving and fun is always good when it's about a charity that you like or something like that, but it's also sometimes you have to give, and you want to give because it's the right thing to do, and what you get back is just knowing you did a good thing. There's a little boy in a hospital in Maine right now that is dealing with some really hard stuff. His name is Jacob Thompson, and Jacob has stage 4 high-risk neuroblastoma, which is something he's been dealing with since he was 5 years old. And Jacob has a wish. And I think that all of us who can hear this, I think if you can just do this one little thing. I know this time of the year, everybody's shopping and there's all this consumerism and Black Friday and blah, blah. And I've kind of railed against that stuff in the past because I don't really believe in it that much. I'm fine with spending money, but, killing people to get a TV is ridiculous. But if you can spend the money to get a card and a stamp, or 2 stamps, or however much it takes to get to where you live, Jacob would like some Christmas cards. There's a chance that Jacob might not see this Christmas. And that's obviously a very not good thing. And we want him to see Christmas. We want him to feel happy and joy, and we want him to know love, and to know that there's people out there that might never be in the same room with him, but love him all the same. So if you have a moment and you have a Christmas card lying around, or you happen to be heading off to the store and you'd like to send somebody a card, grab a card, send a word, send out some positive vibes and good thoughts to Jacob Thompson, and send them to the address 22 Bramhall, Bramhall Street, room 653, that's 653, Portland, Maine, 04102. We all got to try and help each other. We're all in this together, right? And something a little closer to our home, to the Supernatural home, to the Supernatural fans. Jim Beaver, who is somebody that I follow on Twitter at JumbleJimTwitter.com, because he's awesome. It's Jim Beaver, come on. Jim put up a post on Twitter yesterday, the 18th, about his niece, a young lady named Kira, who is dealing with some pretty bad medical stuff. She has inoperable brain cancer. And the cost of that is obviously very high. It's not easy. Medicine doesn't come cheap anyway for something that serious. It's really, And there has been a GoFundMe page set up for Kira. And if you would like to donate to the page, I'm going to have the link in my notes here. And I'm going to give you the page right now as well. It's GoFundMe.com/help Kira fight. I hope you guys will contribute. I'm planning to do so. Simply because, like I said, we're all in this together, right? We're all on this big spaceship and just kind of flying through the universe, and really nobody knows what tomorrow is going to bring. But if we can help somebody else, everyone says the 3 most beautiful words in the English language are "I love you." And I think they're some of the most beautiful words in the English language, but I actually learned it from an episode of Star Trek. I picked this up a long time ago, because everything in life revolves back to Star Trek, don't it? That there's 3 other words that are just as beautiful as I love you. Let me help. So let's all give Kira some help. And her GoFundMe is gofundme.com/help Kira fight. So, if you would like to get in touch with me, I am at platinumrosel@yahoo.com. Put PRG in the header and I will know that you want to talk about the show. You can send me comments, criticism, questions, and it doesn't have to be about Supernatural. You can talk to me about any old thing you want. Just, I'm here, dish away, And you can also check me out over on Twitter. I am PlatinumRoseLady at twitter.com. And you can find me over there. I am always posting stuff. Some of it makes sense. Some of it doesn't make sense because it's me. And I post a lot of poetry and micro stuff. And I like to have fun have a good time. There's also the other stuff that is part of our happy little internet family, which would include Subject Cinema, which is the show that me and my sweetie, my Mzadi, the guy that puts up with my crap, TC do. That's our movie podcast where we do movie reviews and news and all kinds of fun things like that. And we have a lot of fun over there. And we talk about all kinds of great things. And I hope that you will check us out over there. I hope you will check out Cavebabble, which is the Lion family and their great podcast where they all have kind of fun stuff that they talk about. Comic Grotto with Aunt Bee and Pee-wee is currently on hiatus, but their show is still up, so hopefully you can check it out. And if you're into comics, you can check them out because they're really cool guys and lots of fun. I hope that you will subscribe to my show, and if you like my show, please tell other people about it because I would love to share my warped vision with the rest of the world. Muhaha. My guy's gonna get mad. I appropriated the muhaha from him. And I hope that if you like my show that you'll share it with other people, post up links and do that kind of thing. And let people know that I am out there and that our family of shows are out there because we love doing this. We love having fun. And we want people to be part of our little happy family of weirdos. Because the world can always use more weird. So, this is Kim, Platinum Rose Lady, signing off for another week. And before I go again, I do want to say something to a very special person. My sister celebrated a birthday last week. And I know she's probably not going to hear this. She is a great person and a wonderful mom and super cool and way more beautiful than I'll ever be. And she is just an amazing person. So happy birthday, Joy. You're awesome. And to everybody in America who celebrates, this coming Thursday, I wish you all a very happy, healthy, and safe Thanksgiving. Everybody enjoy Turkey Day and, just be happy. Be thankful for what you have and give to people that don't. And that's going to do it for this week on Platinum Rose's Garden. This is Platinum Rose Lady signing off for another week and reminding you to love the ones you hug the ones you love, and take some time to stop and smell the roses and eat more pie.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNRNetworks.